Moved it away.
I can't easily bump into it.
And it changed colors and it says we're live.
Yeah, lies.
Pick one, anyone.
If you would like to keep, I don't know, if you want to donate to the Blanket Fort, donate here. Any little bit helps.
Support the live stream.
Yeah.
Support
the people. It's support the live stream.
for certain values of support.
Yeah.
If you like coffee, King Harv's Imperial Coffees, let them know you heard about it here. Also, buy our coffee anthology. Smartass t-shirts. Among the Leaves tees at tinyurl.com. Smartass t-shirts coming out your ears.
In more ways than one.
Yeah. It's been an interesting day so far.
Yeah.
One of our authors, Lori Janeski, married to Matt Bowman, had a apparently what seems to have been a fairly spectacular motor vehicle accident.
Yeah.
Rollover with a mechanical extraction required. She's got some damage. She's in surgery right now. So
the kids were not with her.
No, apparently it's just her.
Yeah.
If you'd like to send kind thoughts or celestial whatevers, please do.
Yeah.
If you'd like to support right now, buy her books. She's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, she does science fiction, detective, mystery novels. So if you like that kind of thing,
Yep.
grab her books, leave a nice review. Those are good ways to help at this point.
Yep. So buy her books.
I will project, Jim.
Yeah, you are not projecting.
And the other news was Howard Andrew Jones.
Yep.
See, Sir Brass is ahead of me. Howard Andrew Jones has come up with terminal brain cancer.
Yeah.
Yay. And look, another political call.
Yeah.
I
get political texts from Ohio, so they're completely irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
And I just reply stop, or I block them, or
I need an app where I can hit a button and it's Howard Jones saying eat a dick.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got multifocal glioblastoma.
Yeah, that sucks.
It's brain cancer, and it's the bad kind. So
Yeah.
Add her name to the chat. Lori
Janeski. Janeski.
Yep.
Lori Janeski. And Jim's going to take care of it. Also, Blaine Pardo is apparently suing folks. If you happen to be watching this, or if you know Mr. Pardo, would you, for those of you who don't know, I need to backtrack. Blaine Pardo was the author that pretty much outlined the Battletech universe with giant stomping robots.
Did he really?
Yeah, he was one of their prime authors on writing the Battletech or Battletech universe novels. The good parts of Battletech. Yes, Jesse, I'm having a bad day. Anyway, so he's apparently suing folks because Catalyst Game Labs is being stupid. However, if you should happen to know Mr. Pardo, and if you should happen to know if he's got any giant robot short stories laying around, would you let him know that there's a small publisher with a pretty good track record that would be happy to take those orphan short stories off his hands? And that we have a giant robot anthology coming out later in the year.
Yeah, see, I only knew about his series that he's working on now because I did the cover for the latest one. So I didn't realize that was what his past was. Wow. He seems like a really nice fellow, though. So.
Yeah.
The good parts about it, yes, Jesse. Jerry. Why am I going Jerry? Yeah, brain cramp. My think pudding is all sorts of discombobulated.
Yeah, I've noticed.
In other news, apparently the Air Force does not realize that the joystick on an AH-64 goes the opposite way to an F-35.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
Nose forward, nose down. Stick forward, nose down.
Yeah, and stick forward, go forward. Stick back. Anyway, so they stuck an F-35 pilot in an AH-64, and he pranged
Colonel.
it. And he pranged it.
The warrant could not save it.
Unpack that, please, for me. Because by warrant, you mean warrant officer?
The warrant officer that was the actual pilot that signed for the aircraft.
Okay. Oof.
It was a take me around and show me what's going on flight
Uh-huh.
called a demo.
Yeah. Okay. I follow
And
that.
They apparently this colonel was in the left seat, which in a helicopter that is the co-pilot seat.
Okay.
Right seat is the hack.
64, they're front to back, though.
Yeah, 64, yeah, front to back, whatever. So apparently this colonel was trying to land the 64. And he tried it a couple of times and the warrant saved it.
Mm-hmm.
The third time he got
Third time's the charm.
confused, quote unquote, and was going high, so he pushed the nose down.
And it went down a little too abruptly.
And it, yeah.
That sounds like he gave him lots of opportunities to crash.
And the co-pilot, as James says, the co-pilot / gunner is the front seat.
Mm-hmm.
So the co-pilot / gunner has less of the instruments than this colonel was probably used to.
Prang!
Plus the fact there's this funny thing called a collective,
Yeah.
which does not work like a throttle by any means.
No, I've never, but I've been told so.
And you have a P factor torque from the rotors,
Right.
which tends to turn the aircraft.
That's very, very different from a fixed wing.
As a friend of mine who's flown, he goes for years, said, it's about the only aircraft in the world you don't have time to scratch your nose. Of course, he grew up flying Hueys, so no stab, no sass. Yeah. As he said, it was.
The only thing I know about the aircraft, various types of aircraft, is the the reflective beat-in habits for fixed wing don't work for rotor wing.
No, they don't.
That's what I know about it.
Yeah, Rick, that's the bottom line. Warrant should be cashiered and probably will be, if not retired, for letting a fighter guy try to land in the colonel, reserve colonel, so being a dick, yes.
I know what I'm doing. I'm a colonel.
Speaking of being dicks, Amazon got caught again. Another news, Cedar's kids recruiting pecan members.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. Oh, it was the cutest thing.
She
'cause I
just did a migraine salute.
Well, I knew about this a day or so ago, but I honestly don't know if either of them have a leave chit that's approved yet.
Oh boy.
But they're both baby sailors, so they don't know. But no, I got a call today so
Squiddlings.
that I could actually give verbal confirmation where the kid could hear it that yes, it's okay if you come along with my son. I'm fine with that. We'll throw a sleeping pad on the floor. You're good, kid. You're welcome. So he's excited. He has no idea. He's never been to a science fiction convention. I'm like, it's a little tiny thing.
Yeah.
But we will have a couple of baby sailors running around helping Todd.
Squiddlings.
If their leave chits get approved, which to the best of my knowledge hasn't actually happened yet.
As Rick says, oh fun, subsailors having a Mensa meeting in a biker bar. Pretty much.
These are babies, Rick. They have graduated sub school. Barely.
Squiddlings. Squiddlings.
Yeah.
Speaking of Hueys, did I show you guys a picture of the Huey on a stick?
I've seen Hueys on sticks
There's
before.
a joke there.
It's a Huey
That's
on a
a
stick.
Huey on a
Yeah.
stick.
Yeah.
Sure is.
It's a memorial of Huey.
Yes, it is. But it is the weirdest feeling to stand under the stick and look up at the belly of this.
Well, and be
Thing
able to
that's
look
just
up without
like-
the down blast knocking you back. 30
Exactly.
feet.
It was eerily silent. But that's at the National Vietnam War Museum in Mineral Wells.
Yeah.
That was an interesting little museum.
Yeah.
My poor husband, we're wandering around through displays and he keeps pointing at things, telling me I used that, I ate those.
Yeah.
we drove past the vehicles parked outside, and he's like, I drove that one. I drove that one. I
Yeah.
slept in a lot of those.
Yeah.
Because he's nominally Vietnam era
Yeah.
because of when he enlisted, but not really. But they were still using the same equipment because of the military.
Yeah. That reminds me of Master Chief Crookshank. Oh, VB 104 sailor, Black Cats. And we were having a squadron reunion in Jacksonville. And we invited all the predecessor squadrons. Master Chief Crookshank shows up with a buddy of his. They're both World War II vets. And they've got this bright, sparkling young lieutenant from VP5 giving them a tour. And in the front of NAS Jacks, they have various old airplanes, including PBYs, APBY. And this young lieutenant says, and there's a World War II PBY. And Master Chief Crookshank went, yeah, I flew that one. He says, oh, sir, you flew PBYs? He said, no, son, I flew that one. Right. That night at the squadron dinner, he had his logbook.
Mm-hmm.
That PBY was in his logbook.
Yeah,
Of course it was.
So I had a question for you.
Yes.
Since I just remembered it. What the heck is that?
That is a kid's play toy helicopter.
Okay. Here, we probably should show it to the chat.
That's one of those that's a swing, a climber.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was completely confused about
Yeah.
what the heck that was.
Yeah, I've seen those before.
I was trying to figure out if it was some kind of training device or
Oh no,
what.
that's for kids to break things.
Oh, have fun, James. Troubleshoot a Linux system. Yeah, good luck with that, whether it's all up to date or not.
Yeah. Yeah, the museum was small. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're in Mineral Wells, it's
Oh,
probably
it's real
worth,
small. Yeah.
worth stopping in, but it's not worth going out of your way for. The the upstairs part is mostly art displays.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. There was a fellow photographer that went back to Vietnam and tracked down some famous kids that had been photographed, and he photographed them.
Yeah, I've seen that sequence.
Yeah, the 50 years later.
Jim says, any of the vehicles he saw, ones he actually operated, he worked on the AH-1F Cobra that's in the museum at Fort Campbell. James actually worked on when it was at Fort Hood.
Doesn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do remember when the Commodore Wing 2 was happy to point out to me that the P3 on the stick outside was one that I'd flown in. Asshole.
Yeah, it was we had wound up in Mineral Wells because we were doing a little test road trip to see how Sanford would do with driving, and realized that the museum was just a couple miles from where we'd stayed the night at the hotel. So
Oh,
we went and did the
dagamore.
thing.
No, just
What?
no.
Apparently, he's suggesting a simple fix for Linux, which,
Yeah.
if I read it right, it reformats the entire.
Yes, reformats the entire disk. Anyway, back to my rant on Amazon.
Yeah.
They got caught.
Mm,
Political influence with Alexa.
yes, they did.
Oh,
And Joffrey, who is apparently now the president of Amazon, went, oh, it's just an error. We'll fix it. Error my dying ass.
When you asked why should I vote for Donald Trump, it said that it could not offer an opinion. Did not offer opinions on political subjects. When you asked why should I vote for Harris, it gave you multiple reasons why.
Including the fact that she was a woman of color and she'd been a prosecutor.
And that she was breaking the political glass ceiling
And nothing was said about what she'd done the last 3.5 years.
because she didn't do anything.
Yeah, well,
Oh! How about Governor Hochul? What the hell her name
Hochul,
is?
yeah.
Hochul in New York.
Yeah.
How about that bimbo?
Another Chinese spy.
Yes. One of her aides got arrested for being a long-term Chinese spy.
Gee, why does that keep happening to Dems?
Right? If they're
They
not
don't know. They're completely mystified.
if they're not boinking them, they're paying them.
One way or the other, they're
Hmm.
still paying them. And they still continue to serve.
There was a time when if you had a full-on spy in your bed or driving you around or being your aide, you took the courteous thing and resigned.
Yes. Oh, Differs, I'm sorry. Differs corrected me. He says, no, she had an achievement, but it didn't list any. Okay.
She doesn't have any achievements.
Same difference. Oh, God.
I was about to say something really, really tacky, and y'all need to be proud of me. I managed to snub that one off before it came out.
Is that the same one that you said at lunch?
I forget.
Yeah, it was.
I was going to list an achievement, and thank God my internal censor was awake, snagged that one.
Yeah. Ben. Yeah, the other interesting thing, since we're now facing yet another government shutdown, the $883 billion defense budget probably is not going to kick in. Well, it can't until they pass the budget. So even though the NDAA has been passed, there is no official budget.
How long have we been without a budget? How long have we been putting off government shutdown?
5 years.
To 5 years, they've been kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
For 5 years, they haven't had a budget. They keep doing stopgap, middle of the night crap to keep things going. Let it fail.
Yeah.
They've for 5 years have said, "Oh, let us pass this one, and we'll get it handled."
Yeah.
They haven't. They've had 5 years. They haven't. Done. Let it fail.
Yeah. But the impact is DOD wide. This is personnel. This is moves. This is procurement of assets. This is buying toilet paper and soap.
And apparently pants for the Navy.
And pants for the Navy, yes. Well, yeah, RK, that's actually true. We've been out an actual budget for over 20 years.
We've been doing the reconciliation at midnight thing for
Well, that started under Obama.
a while.
And that was the
Well, just let us do a
Yeah.
resolution and we'll fix it.
Yeah.
That's been 5 years. They still haven't fixed it. So fuck it. Done.
Yeah. Of course, all of us that are retirees, we would immediately lose our pay. Interestingly enough, senators, congressmen, and their aides would not lose their pay.
That's that.
They would continue to be paid. Yeah, exactly, Sir Brass. Affecting paying people like us to keep our munitions still able to be used. Yeah. Of course, they can't sell anything to Israel now, thanks to Biden the other day.
Is Liz still on here?
Yeah, she's up there somewhere.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob. Bob says, I thought it for you.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm going to say the only real achievement is the golden last 2 inches.
Yeah, Padre, that's moved the battle assembly for 2 weeks later in the month because of shutdown. Yeah. And the worst I ever saw it was under Carter,
Oh,
where we literally,
sergeants telling me about rifle training under Carter with 2x4s and yelling bang, bang.
well, we were flying. We were active duty. We were operational squadron. And come the end of the fiscal year, 31 September, the P3, we had a requirement for a 33,000 pound ramp, 33,000 pounds of fuel for a ramp load to keep the airplane from bouncing if it got windy, and B, keep the struts compressed, and C, keep a load across the wing.
Okay.
On the 31st of September in 78 and 79, fuel trucks came out of the fuel farm, went to every P3 on the ramp at Moffett Field, and sucked fuel as much as they could hold out of the airplanes, down to less than 8,000 pounds, and went back into the fuel farm. At 12:01 on October the 1st, they all pulled back out of the fuel farm, came back out, and put 33,000 pounds back on each airplane.
Why?
Because that way they could account for adequate fuel.
Oh.
So there was enough fuel in the fuel farm
At the turn of the year.
at the turn of the
they had
year
a
to
fully-
meet the operational
Had
requirement.
a fully kitted out fuel farm,
Yeah.
and then as soon as they accounted for it, they drained it again.
Yeah. And we would also, squadrons would come home and go what was called cold iron, which meant you flew nothing for 30 days. Nothing. No test flights, no pilot training flights.
Yeah, that's rough on training.
Well, not only rough on training, it's rough on airplanes.
And
Yeah.
readiness status.
Yeah, well, it's like right now, I'm not driving my truck a lot, but I actually have a little reminder to
Yeah.
pop up every 2 weeks. Make sure we drive the truck for a
Yeah.
while, because it's not good for a vehicle to sit still for too long.
Yeah, jump training off the back of a pickup because they driving down the LZ. Yeah.
I'm telling you that too.
Rick, the way we were maintaining proficiency was if a squadron had flight hours for training, the squadron that was basically cold iron, all their pilots would come over and jump on the pilot training flight. And normally those were 4-hour flights. They would get stretched to about 6 because
Cycling through people in the
so you
sea.
got 12 pilots on the airplane. So everybody would get a half an hour in each seat. Yeah, we had Daggermore. We had one airplane in 75 during the tail end of Vietnam that we flew out of QB. The airplane never shut down for 4 days. It would go on a mission. It would come back, taxi into the fuel pits. They would go out, dump oil in it, refuel it. A new crew would get on it, restart the engines, go back and fly. 4 days. 4 days. We did that. Not a single thing ever broke on that airplane. The flap ended, and they said, "All right, bring the bird in because we've got to do inspections." That airplane went so hard down. That thing was down for about 3 weeks because everything just went, like I quit.
Done.
Yeah.
I hate to tell folks this, but anybody that thinks that the economy's better needs to quit drinking the bottled water.
Well, I mean, lunch today. 6 months ago when we went down there, 8 months ago, whatever it was, that same lunch was $30. Today it was $40.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that's what it's costing them to do business.
Yeah, the folks in the meat business are really tanking the neck.
Oh yeah.
I walked into our local butchery in Wichita that we like so much, Red Barn, and when I walked in, they apologized for the prices.
Yeah.
So I don't apologize. I completely understand.
Well, and Eric's not sure he's going to be able to get turkeys for Thanksgiving.
At Red Barn?
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened? I don't know.
Well,
What happened to the turkey farms?
don't know.
God.
Well, he was telling me, I was in there because I bought some meat for one of my suppers, that they were looking at getting goat and sheep,
I hope so.
but the prices from the wholesalers were so high.
Oh,
He was going to go buy it directly from farmers or ranchers up in Oklahoma. He said, by the time we got through figuring it all out, it would have cost us $1 more a pound to go directly to the farmer than it would have to go to the wholesaler.
Oh, wow.
But he said the rancher cooperative did get $330 million in donations from the ranchers.
Mhm.
So they are going to open their own meat processing plant.
Yeah, because that's a big part of the issue
Yeah.
is the fact that the USDA has such a stranglehold on
Yes.
processing.
Well, it's not just that. It's the big processors
Mhm.
have consolidated. There's only 2 or 3 processors in
Yeah.
the United States that own all the local processors.
Yeah.
And they are colluding, and I chose that word quite deliberately. They're getting together in back channel and deciding, on where everybody's going to set the prices.
Yeah.
They've been doing this for decades. And the ranchers have been bitching about it. Been bitching back in 94, 95 when I was working ranches. They were bitching about it. It's only gotten worse.
Yep.
The big meat packers like to lay the blame off on the ranchers. Ranchers are having record low prices when they sell beef at
Mhm.
at sale.
Yeah.
Record low prices for beeves.
Somebody's getting that money.
The meat packers.
But
Yeah.
that's the thing, which is that if we can cut through some of those regulations, which are largely based on Upton Sinclair's Jungle, which was a lie.
Yeah.
So the whole stranglehold on the meat industry is based on a guy that just made stuff up for sensationalism.
No.
And it's not the only regulation
Yeah.
mess that we have.
Silent Spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Yes. Don't even get me. I will go up on a start box there. But the thing of it is that the meat processing thing is based on a lie, and it's been used to cut smaller and smaller producers out. And there's definitely seems to be a movement right now towards strangling small farmers.
Yeah.
I was listening to a radio call-in guy who's like 4th generation, practically in tears because he's over $1 million in debt.
Yeah.
And his payments are like $16,000 a month.
Yeah.
On this thing. And the advice that he was given was to sell everything but the land, pay the debt off, and just retrench
Yeah.
for a while, let the land lay fallow if he has to, but get rid of the debt, because otherwise he was going to lose this family land that had
Yeah.
been in his family for generations.
But if he does that, then he has no income.
Right. And then he's going to have to go out and get a job and try to figure out how to pay taxes on all that land.
Yeah.
The big corporate.
And figure out what to do because
Right.
Because the taxes aren't going away.
no.
And this is what he knows to do. So, but yeah, the big corporations are pressing small farmers
Mhm.
into going under so they can develop the land.
Yep.
Now we're
And then
not
you
talking, folks,
What?
small little 100, 200 acre ranches or farms. We're talking 1,000-acre farms.
Well, the guy I was listening to had a little over 500 acres.
Yeah.
So,
Got a section.
but
But
even the truck gardeners right now are under attack. There was a lady in Oregon that has like a little 1 acre market garden.
Yeah.
And they came after her for using water.
Well, that's Oregon anyways.
I'm aware of that, but where California goes, the rest of the country goes.
Yeah. Well,
the
that's
big-
starting to slow down.
I hope so.
The big industrialized farms that are run by corporations took a page from the meat packers.
Yeah.
And they're running the small farmers out of business.
Archer
they can-
Daniels, Midland.
Yep. Yeah.
So-
I'll name them.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No. Go
Oh, yeah.
read John Ringo's The Last Centurion if
Yeah.
you want to get sick to your stomach about what's in that book. Is how old now?
and
And
they,
it's no less true.
they use their giant pocketbooks to get legislation that benefits them and hurts the small farmers because they know, and they tell folks, oh, it'll be better under, go ahead
Yeah.
and sell your family land. We'll take care of it.
No.
Whatever.
No.
I mean, we used to drive around Ohio, Sanford and I, because that was our get out and relax, and there's no distractions in the car. We could chit chat. So that was the way we did a lot of our dates, was basically go out and drive around the countryside, and I'd take the camera with me and I'd take pictures. And there are so many beautiful old farmhouses that are fallen to rack and ruin because the land was bought by some huge conglomerate farm,
Mm-hmm.
and it would cost money to pull down the house.
Yeah.
So they do bare minimum upkeep to keep the squatters out of it. And these lovely old farmhouses are just falling down.
Yeah.
And but they'll buy a family farm. This is what happened to Sanford's family's farm. They came in, they bought it, they bulldozed the stone dairy barn that had been there for like 200 years.
Yeah.
And they let the house just grow up completely. Sanford says the last time he saw it, there was a tree growing up in the living room.
Yeah.
And this is what they do. They take these little pieces of land, just roll it into the monstrosity.
I don't. When I first got to the Texas Panhandle in '92, it was covered over in little family ranches, little family farms.
Mhm.
That's not the case now.
Yeah.
The family farms have gone to Frito-Lay, mostly Frito-Lay, and the family ranches have been bought up by idiots in Manhattan and Hollywood that love being able to tell their cocktail buddies at their high-rise Manhattan penthouse that they're a rancher in Texas.
Yeah.
And they've got these idiots that don't know which end of a bowl to milk.
Yeah.
That's a triple joke, by the way. Running their ranches into the ground.
Yeah.
Ranches into the ground.
When we went out trying to find Doan's Crossing, and that was a fun adventure. I photographed again. There was 3-4 houses, old farmhouses out on this road out in the middle of literal freaking nowhere, and they were abandoned.
Yeah,
and that is something that I see over and over across the country whenever I've gotten off the beaten path.
Well, Frank James, a friend of mine, Frank sadly passed away a few years ago.
Farmer Frank.
Huh?
Farmer Frank.
Farmer Frank, yeah. Farmer Frank was also an editor of Shotgun News.
Mm-hmm.
And the man taught law enforcement shooting. And Frank had a selection of rather interesting weapons at his house. But he also farmed. And he farmed family land that was been in his family over 100 years, well over 100 years. And his biggest battles were with Archer Daniels Midland and Monsanto.
Mm-hmm.
Because Monsanto would basically give Archer Daniel Midland GMO corn to plant. And if you've ever seen those planters when they get running, there are spare niblets of corn that end up well outside the field.
They throw corn all over the place, seed corn all over the place.
So what Monsanto would do is wait until the corn started coming in and then come out and check all of the adjacent land.
And if their copyrighted corn was on, I've seen this in Panhandle.
Yeah.
Copyrighted corn was found in a field that hadn't paid for it, they sued the farmer of that field, owner of that field.
Yeah, one stalk.
So I've seen some of the case law on that, and they reliably lose those. But it's a nuisance.
They were not losing them.
It's a nuisance lawsuit. It doesn't matter whether they win or lose.
Yeah.
They're big enough to beat them down and drag them through spending money that they often don't have.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these little farmers do, like this guy I was listening to, which is they go into debt because they think they have to.
Yeah.
And then they're in a really vulnerable position.
Where they can be bought for their land can be bought.
Well, no, the banks can call their note.
Yep.
Yeah.
For no real reason, or because they aren't able to make their thing. And at that point, the bank is usually working with an investor.
Yeah.
And I say that with air quotes.
Yeah. Well, Frank didn't buy new equipment because he said,
well, that's the other thing. The whole thing with John Deere right now.
Yeah. He said, I don't want to spend $125,000 to $250,000 for a tractor.
Mm-hmm.
When that may be the one piece that puts me over in a bankruptcy.
Yep.
He said, I've got old tractors. They run.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the latest greatest. They don't have air conditioning. They don't have the fancy cabs. They don't have auto steer. They don't have GPS. He said, but I've been running this land, planting this land for 50 years. I know how to plant this land.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too, though, is that generational knowledge is dying out.
Yeah.
Because most people are just, that generation is dying out, and the
Yeah.
kids aren't, by and large, interested in doing it, or it's no longer financially viable.
Yeah. Well, and Frank had a.
I will say that perhaps there may be a renaissance going on that you guys may not be aware of.
Well,
Because I watched this kid on TV.
yeah, I know.
And he's
talking
like-
about Cole. He's a sharp kid.
But he's also, there's a lot of families that are bringing more and more of their kids back into it because
Mhm.
they're tired of all the woke crap and they want a job that's real
Yeah.
in the dirt. So I would say Iowa's in a lot better shape in regards to this than a lot of other places.
Well,
And they're resisting a lot of the big
Yeah.
purchases.
Yeah, but the
So-
problem is they're so deep in debt.
actually,
Yeah.
they're not.
some of them aren't. It's
Yeah.
my cousin, who was actually out at mom's place. I had a cute picture of her baby who's 10 months old now. She married a young Iowa farmer, and he's a generational farmer, and their family has been very careful to
Mhm.
never go into debt.
Yeah.
Well, the Hummels.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. On the other hand, did you see what they're doing to the Amish in Canada?
Oh, yeah.
it's Canada. I'm scared to ask.
They are fining them for not using an app. The
Yeah.
Amish.
Who don't use cell phones.
So they're not using a cell phone app, so they're getting fined.
Yeah.
Yes. It's Canada. I mean, Canada has slipped over the edge into
Yes,
sanity
Jesse.
and tyranny.
What the fuck?
I hope they're
It
they're
doesn't
happy with.
matter. It's Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, Canadians are happy with their whatever the hell he's called,
Fidel Trudeau. Yeah.
Fidel Trudeau.
Well, but it's far deeper than just him.
Oh, I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
They,
I mean,
Well, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
right.
Look at the swamp here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. And Canada's been worse for a long time.
Yeah.
They just
much
they're
worse.
so polite, eh?
Mhm.
That they get away with it. I mean, most
Yeah.
people don't call them out on their bullcrap.
Yes, he does look like Castro's
It's
kids.
going to be interesting when one of those center provinces of Canada sues for admission to the United States.
Not sure they can.
And British Columbia has already had that on the ballot once.
Mm,
No, Saskatchewan did
Yeah.
too.
yeah. But it's, I mean, their track record with their Native American peoples
Oh.
is horrible.
Yeah.
Far worse. I mean, the U.S. gets a lot of publicity and crap for it, but
Yeah.
what the Canadians did is,
Well, that's some of that's up for debate because remember a year or two back the big hoorah over the unmarked Native American graves at the government schools.
Yeah.
yeah, but that's been, they've shown that, but there are
Widely
documented.
debunked. Widely
Yeah.
debunked.
There
Yeah.
are still documented what they were doing was they were deliberately trying to eradicate the culture.
Yeah. They did that with the Cajuns in the U.S.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's exactly where the Cajuns came from. They were the Acadians.
Yeah, when the Cajuns got to the U.S.,
Hey,
and
I will have you know we were kicked out of multiple countries. Thank you very much.
Yes, and you should be
But
proud of it.
there was
Kicked out of France, kicked out of Canada.
the
The bad
U.S.
navigators ended up in Texas.
the U.S. and
Or the good
Louisiana
navigators, depending on how you interpret that.
tried their damnedest. Government tried their damnedest to eradicate Cajun culture back in 20s,
Oh, yeah.
20s, 30s,
Well,
and
any
40s.
culture that has stuck out.
Well, the Creoles, the Mazistos, the Cajuns.
Mhm. I've been reading one of Thomas Sowell's books
Yeah.
on education and assumptions. And the man pulls all the data together. And this book was written in, I think, like 1976.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because he thoroughly debunks the whole alignment between segregation and lack of education, and then dives into looking at other immigrant societies and
Yeah.
also some Native American societies where they, and it's just a really interesting read because
He's a smart man.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I always, and that's why I'm reading this book, even though the topic I didn't think was something that was super relevant. I picked it up when it went on sale, and I'm reading through it, and it's just really interesting to have him lay out very clearly how underprivileged immigrants to the U.S. that were willing to work hard and prioritize education wound up, you can see in the test scores over like 20 or 30 years, IQ points come up
Oh, yeah.
drastically. And it's a really interesting an analysis, but it ties back into even the schools that shouldn't have been able to succeed because they didn't have any funding and
Yeah.
they didn't have this, that, and the other thing, and still somehow they became excellent schools that produced students that went on to win Nobel Prizes and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
really cool.
Richard says, had more than a few black teachers tell me busing was the worst thing that happened to the black community. Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, I don't know if that was the worst thing, but
it was
Well-
definitely not the best.
right. And that's Sowell points out that there's several well documented cases where once the schools were open to everyone, the academic achievements actually dropped.
Yeah.
Because, and the other thing that he points out, he never actually comes out and says this, but it's pretty clear, is that the laws against truancy and allowing dropouts actually decreased educational achievements.
Yeah.
Because it's a self-selecting thing of, if the kid was never going to do well in school,
get out.
why not let him get out and get a job, do something productive?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, LBJ was the worst thing that happened to the black community. That's not far.
Welfare.
Yeah.
Welfare.
Yeah.
Welfare, LBJ, I mean, the whole destruction of the family unit.
That
And-
was rough.
Yeah, because it's and that's what we're seeing now with the data. If you look at the data of having two parents is a huge advantage
Yeah.
in life, and if you, and it doesn't. I mean, as a single mother, I say this. I know that damaged my kids' outcomes, but on the other hand, what I had to leave was not. I don't have multiple baby daddies, and
Yeah.
the reaction to that from various government personnel has been enlightening.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, RK says LBJ was absolutely right when he came up with a guarantee the black Democrat vote for 60 years. Yep.
Yeah.
Did anybody else see that rampaging numpty in the New York Post who wrote, I shit thee not, an opinion piece that reading to your children unfairly advantages them?
Yes. Yes.
Well, then let's all do that.
If you read to your children, you are being unfair to everybody else.
So here's what I'm going to tell the chat. Y'all, go find out if your local library will let you volunteer to read to children. Let's advantage them.
I can't imagine the brass stones required to say that.
The
Yeah.
sheer massive
If you read
bigotry.
to your children, you're being something bad.
It just,
It's a soft bigotry of low expectations.
Yeah.
Color me bad.
I mean, yes, I'm sitting over here doodling for a children's book that I
Yeah.
hope that someday somebody will read aloud to their children.
Oh, it's
yeah, he's a UK professor.
you are, if you do it, you're unfairly advantaging your kids against everybody else. Good.
There's a sales board for us.
No kidding, right?
Unfairly
Harrison Bergeron
advantage
is
your
becoming
children.
a reality. Yes.
Buy our books, unfairly advantage your children.
Buy our books and read them to
Yeah.
your children. Oh,
I
man.
read to my daughters when they were little.
Yep.
Well, that explains a lot.
I read to mine. I mean, we all took turns reading, my sister and my mother and I, because my youngest sister couldn't read. So we read stuff a lot. I mean, Little
Yeah.
Women, Swiss Family Robinson.
Swiss Family Robinson.
Yeah, The Borrowers.
Swiss Family Robinson, parts of that were bad to read to a kid.
Why, whatever you do, you mean?
The part about the donkey was just terrible. I mean, there's some educational stuff in there. That's where I first came across Flash to Bang Time.
Yeah.
There was a beautiful explanation of Flash to Bang Time in that book.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a really bad description of the demise of a donkey that scarred me for a while.
We haven't got there. We'll get there.
What?
We can finish off on a high note.
Oh,
We have an announcement.
okay.
We do.
We do.
Yeah, we were read to, which turned us into readers, which saved
Yeah.
our butts in school. Yes.
Oh.
And that turned us into authors, and that led to Jim having a story in the anthology that's out
Nice segue.
today.
Oh, is it out today?
Well, the paperback is out now. So
Ah.
if you guys want a hard copy, you can go ahead and order it.
The big ones is out today.
Yes.
Which, as I look back after we punched the button, I'm wondering if the big ones was what we needed to title that thing. And
Well, the big ones is a direct reference to the editor's thing of the different things that World War II has
Yeah.
been called. So for those of you that aren't already familiar with and sick of this, it's 10 stories set in an alternate history World War II.
Yeah.
And it's got a story from Jim, Lee Allred, Dan Camp, James Young,
He's
and
got
Christopher Nuttall.
Yeah.
I was trying to
it's
remember.
got
I
some,
know we've
it's
got
got some
another.
high-end authors.
Yeah, yeah. So
And then there's me.
I included you in that.
She did.
So,
I heard.
and we
No,
we
you
have a
said
couple
high end.
we have
I
a
did.
couple of relative newcomers. Medron
We always
Pride,
do.
who is by no means a new writer, but this is his first foray into alternate history. That I
Jesse
know of.
says, Rack Press has a floppy big one out now.
See, that's exactly where I was.
A floppy penguin?
Floppy big one.
Oh,
Oh,
Uh,
look, titles are not easy. We actually had to change the projected title for an anthology because we looked at it a second time. The first time it sounded really great, and then it got put on a cover with the art, and we all looked at it and went, "Oh no,
Oh no!
that is a bad idea. Let's not."
I had somebody remind me of what that particular title was in street language.
Yeah.
And I went, damn.
And this is why you have more than one person look at something,
Yeah.
because somebody's got to point out the obvious.
Who see? But that'll be Rita. She's the gap between the bookcases goes back into Rita and Jana's
gap right there. Yeah.
eBay area.
That is a gap.
So she's moving around and mishearing what we're
Yeah.
saying. And this adorable voice says the things that she's mishearing, like floppy penguins.
How would you debone a penguin?
Very carefully.
With an orca. By the way, speaking of books, if you're on my Facebook, I've got a link to an article on what men read. You might want to read it.
Dare I ask if this is an actual helpful article?
Oh yes,
Oh good.
oh yes.
That's lovely.
It actually they go into the differences between what women read for and what men read for,
Oh
and
my
how
gosh,
to write
yes.
that way.
Yeah.
Oh, it's totally different. And it's also why I prefer to read so-called men's
Yep,
books.
and explains that too.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Richard, vets and LEO should always review titles. Yes.
Well, in this case, it was the lovely Miss Rita that caught it.
She caught it, and I went, yeah.
No,
yeah.
Dagamore, we have not talked about that yet. I will mention that, though.
What?
Paul
Paul
Harrell.
Harrell passed away.
Oh, I watched his video. It wasn't on my regular list
Yeah.
of people that I watched because I'm not a shooter. But he seemed like he was a lovely gentleman.
He was the real thing.
Yeah.
And his beat down of Harbles was and still is probably one of the classics.
I'll have
Of
to
the
go
YouTube.
look that one up. I watched
Oh,
his
you-
last videos, Goodbye,
Yeah.
which was very sweet.
Yeah. He died of pancreatic cancer that spread much faster than
I
expected.
thought it got into his bones.
Got into his bones, and
So in December, he filmed a "If You're Watching This, I'm Dead"
Yeah.
video, and it went up
went up a
Couple
couple of days
a
ago.
couple days ago.
And that was the start of the video. It says, "If you're seeing this, I'm dead."
Yeah, just sitting on a
Yeah.
log and talking to the camera.
Yeah.
Really class act.
Yeah. But he was the real deal. Not everybody agreed with him.
Didn't have to. I didn't agree with half the stuff he said,
Yeah.
but he was willing to debate.
Yeah.
He was willing to show why he thought that was correct, and
Yeah.
I had to admire that.
Yeah. And that's a dying art debate.
Yeah, and he would actually demonstrate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
the beauty of YouTube as a medium. You can actually show that you can back up what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't agree with. I had probably about half of it I did agree with, but he was willing to.
Yeah.
Willing to debate. And it's like, well, I can see why you think that way. I still think you're wrong, but I admire your courtesy, and
No, we haven't been doing phrasing in a long time, Jesse.
we gave up. We flat gave up. I'll put a link to that. I think it's also a podcast. If you're not big on reading, it's a podcast. You can listen to it.
Yeah.
I'll put it up on North Texas Trollmakers. It's a really good. I'll send you a link so you don't have to go on Facebook.
Thank you.
It's a really good breakdown on the difference between what men read and what women read, and how to write for the different styles
Mm-hmm.
with examples.
Well, I'm trying to remember how old I was when I first snagged one of my dad's Clive Cusslers, which are unashamedly men's romances.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
best way to describe
And
those.
one of the
men's
things
fantasy.
one of the things they
Yeah.
go into is the fact that in a lot of classic men stuff, the smut is behind the curtain,
Oh yeah,
whereas in women's it's
There
you are.
yeah.
Oh wow, bow, chicka, bow. Oh,
Well, and that has to do with the different ways that men and women engage with
Yeah.
titillation, I guess is. And yes, we are doing phrasing. But yeah, and I'm trying to think. And it's like thinking through what I was reading that was very definitely the men's stuff. And you could tell because you look at the cover and you could tell instantly. But I mean, Alistair MacLean,
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Dick Francis,
action.
action, very much action. Lots
Tiffany says I prefer men's smut.
Yeah.
Apparently that is a thing, and
Yeah.
apparently they get into where that a lot of women will actually like the men's stuff, but very few men like the stuff aimed at women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the difference between the two is actually quite startling.
Yeah, and it's an interesting. I mean, it has some links into evolutionary biology. So just
Yeah.
literally how our brains are wired, but also there's definitely some cultural stuff going on there too. So it's interesting to look at from the anthropology viewpoint, but from the author viewpoint, it is a good thing to study and look at, especially if you are a woman trying to write.
If you're trying to write for us, you might want to
Right.
read this twice.
And if you're a man trying to break into the romance market, because let's face it, it sells,
No,
then you need to be aware that there are differences.
I can't be that graphic. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying if there was a guy
Yeah.
that's trying to do this, because there's
I've heard you smack your finger with a hammer laying a floor. You can be that graphic. I've heard it.
As Jesse says, confident form. I am not confident at laying flooring. Trust me.
I heard words that impressed the hell out of me.
I got my full sailor dictionary into action there.
Oh, speaking of, I got the giggles yesterday because I've got these folks that like to send me screenshots of Stephen King being stupid.
oh my gosh, that's
Again?
not hard.
Stephen King, bless the man, he needs to get back on the coke. He's one of the few people I know of that was better on coke than off of it. Give him his daily supply of cocaine.
suspect that it has eroded his functions.
He
You
is
think?
he is consistently wrong, and he is consistently so wrong that he gets fact checked by everybody with cites, and he will not leave that hill. He's going to die on this hill. You're wrong, and he's going to die on it.
That's why I actually think that his brain functions are impaired, whether it was the coke or the motor vehicle accident where he was.
It embraces the power of and.
Oh yeah, I know exactly it. No, traumatic brain injury compounded by years of addiction and abuse.
Put him back on the coke.
It probably wouldn't help.
Anyway,
Well, and shut him up if nothing else.
he sit there in the corner. Actually, write better books.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Well, the
where was I?
endings never match the book anyway.
That's
so.
because he done come off as coke bender when he had to write the ending. Where was I? Oh,
how wrong he is on X or whatever.
so I was reading. He was wrong again, and he was biblically wrong. And I was reading and just kind of shaking my head. And somebody said, and I quote, "Oh, he just likes feeding quarters into the dick punching machine."
God.
That is such a lovely turn of phrase.
We don't kink shame here.
We do for him.
Oh, now Sarah's poking fun at me.
That is such,
I got my whole sailor's dictionary and vocabulary out for that. Yes.
and I love the, I love it so much. I'm stealing that. So, you did write a good ending. He done what the coke wore off. He was doing all the good stuff on a coke bender, and it wore off by the time I do the ending. Prove me wrong.
I don't like his stuff. It makes me sick to my stomach. I mean, the one thing of his I've ever read was written under his Richard Bachman name.
Yeah.
And that's the only one that I've ever liked. And even that was a tentative like. It was more of this was a well executed story, not I ever want to read this again.
Yeah, Christine the ending didn't match the book. Cujo, the ending didn't match the book. I gave up.
None of them did.
Yeah.
Somebody, I was in high school and somebody gave me Salem's Lot to read, and I couldn't get through it. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
And then again, the stand was okay, but he came off the coke bender and had to write the ending.
Yeah.
He should have refilled his coke.
A quick reminder before we sign out. This Saturday is the public gathering, and there is a sign-up sheet. You don't have to bring actual food. I don't know if we need other supplies, Jim.
I went and got paper plates, cups. What else did I get?
Plasticware.
Plasticware, thank you.
Okay.
And saucers that can be used for desserts.
Okay. So we'll probably be good there, but and always a donation towards defraying the cost of those supplies and the venue itself would be useful, because we don't want Jim to have to shoulder all of the load.
Yeah, it is appreciated.
Again.
Yeah. Well, we try to take care of you. We want to be able to keep doing this, and we can't if we bleed you dry in the process.
Just one drop at a time.
It would be good to have the get together. It'll be nice to see folks.
Yeah.
So
we've got a number of folks coming up from Dallas, so it'll be fun.
And I believe Jesse's on here, and he's planning on coming.
Yeah.
So
apparently he's going to bring a tagine.
Yes. I'm going to do I'm going to spend part of the day Saturday making pita breads.
Yeah.
So we'll do nice fresh pita breads.
Well, I'm buying brisket because I am not spending 10 hours cooking. And then try to run that mess.
I hear you on that.
What is this?
And on some happy news.
What is this running I hear of? This bunch of cats doesn't get run worth a damn.
Some happy news to end on.
Okay.
Other than talking about smoking brisket?
That's always good.
Yeah.
Kristen O just pinged our editor guy. They just had their 20-week ultrasound, and baby boy looks happy, healthy, and good.
Oh, outstanding.
Yes.
And if you haven't read Chris's latest on our Substack, you should go read it.
No, Dagamore, that's 10 hours of smoking. And it usually ends up being
He says you can do it in just 10 hours.
I mean, if
you do it
you've got
correctly,
a
yes.
small brisket, I usually allot about an hour per pound of meat.
You're not doing it right.
Probably not.
You do it fat side down.
And you do not.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
Okay, before the religious arguments start.
Side up.
It's almost as bad as beans and jelly.
Oh, it's much worse.
Yeah.
The
45 9 mil, 1911 Glock.
fat side away from the heat so it can soak down through the meat, Jesse.
No, Jesse. Fat side goes toward the heat, goes on the bottom. You're right.
Nope.
Insulation.
Nope. And of course, I don't know why.
Well, it's oil. You do not want oil in your brisket.
Yes, you do. The oil is taste.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Fat is taste. Fat is flavor.
Fat is flavor. But
Not
you
in a
don't.
brisket.
Yeah,
But you
scientist
don't
agrees
want
with
it-
me.
But you don't want it to be completely saturated with it.
You went
Thank
too
you.
far. went too far.
Uh,
I don't know why I'm arguing. When we do a brisket, we do it in the roaster because Rita's got this rub that's, oh my God. Woo! Other good news. The long-awaited cookbook, Racketer Press cookbook, will be coming out. We're aiming for February of 2025. So I heard muttering back there.
and on that note, folks, we're going to quit while we're not too far behind. Y'all have a good weekend. Be safe. If you're coming down, drive safe.
Be safe, folks.
We'll look at seeing you on Saturday.
Indeed.
And remember, don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff. And cook your brisket at 225. Side. Down.
Look, if you're cooking it over fire, you don't have that much control.
Yes, you do.